So yesterday, the Baltimore Ravens lost to the Buffalo Bills 23-20. It is a very disappointing loss, being that this is the second game in a row that we had at home where we had a lead in the fourth quarter and we just could not keep it up. All right, now that I finally have your attention, I have a question for you. Is this team truly built for success? I know for some, yesterday's game highlighted some of the misfortunes, misgivings, and just inadequacies of Jonathan Harbaugh as a head coach for this team. Now, this is something that a lot of us have been saying for many, many years. He has poor clock management skills. His teams are undisciplined. We fail to make in game adjustments more times than not. And he's just not a good head coach. He does not know offense. He does not know defense. He cannot give his input on either side of the ball, so all we pretty much have him for is a motivator. Now, you ask me, we can hire another head coach and keep John Harbaugh as team motivator. Like that'll work out. He's very good at that job. But everything aside from that, it doesn't seem to work. Now, everyone has their opinion on whether or not we should have gone for it on fourth down or we should have kicked the field goal. But if history tells us anything, we shouldn't listen to John Harbaugh. We had several times last season where we went for 2-point conversions. We didn't go for the points and we lost those games. History should have told him, look, it didn't work out for us before. It may not work out for us now. You always take the points. Listen, I know you say, oh, it's just last season, but take a look back at the Super Bowl. We were driving in on the 49ers. We didn't make it. We had a fourth down. He runs a fake field goal with Justin Tucker running to the short side of the field. Didn't work out. Luckily, those 3 points didn't kill us because theoretically, with San Francisco driving at the end of the game, we could have used those 3 points just in case. But John Harbaugh thinks that he's smarter than everybody else and wants to keep doing what he wants to do. And unfortunately, it's costing us games. And I think that the fan base is finally starting to see this isn't the way to do it. Now, if you want to go by analytics, if you want to use this as a driving force on what plays you call, you know what? Let's call IBM. Let's call Apple. Let's call Amazon and have them work out the analytics and have a computer run it. We don't need a head coach. I personally am just tired of all the excuses being made and the reasons why John Harbaugh gets a pass. Any other head coach, he'd be gone. The decisions that he's making, they'd be gone. We're wasting talent. We're wasting Lamar. We're wasting this whole organization as a whole. Now, it's not to say that we put the full blame on Jonathan Harbaugh, but he has most of the blame for the on-field problems that we have. What man in his right mind likes to constantly and consistently hire coordinators that are out of touch with the game? Guys that don't know what's going on, guys that cannot make adjustments. Because I swear, every time we get somebody new in, oh, that's the move. This is the guy that's going to take us over the top. I thought when Marty Morningwig left, Greg Roman was supposed to be that guy. Now, yes, granted, we took the league by storm in 2019 because teams didn't know what we were running. Plain and simple. But once they caught on, as we see every year, statistically on offense, we've gone down. Now, this year, Lamar has elevated his game, and don't get me wrong, take nothing away from him. Greg Roman is calling better plays. He's calling a better game, but he is not calling a consistent NFL offensive coordinator type game. He doesn't do it on a consistent basis, as we can see the second half of games, because once they go into halftime, the other team has a defensive coordinator that gets paid just like the offensive coordinators do. And his job is to say, you know what, this didn't work in the first half. Let's make this adjustment and see what happens. And they do that. But do you think that Greg Roman does this? He does not. Do you think that Jonathan Harbaugh steps in and says, hey, bro, this ain't working. We need to change some things? They don't do it. It doesn't happen. And the same with Mike McDonald. He seems to be in over his head. Said it yesterday. I'll say it again. Mike McDonald should have used his last year of eligibility in college, stayed for another year, completed his senior season, and maybe transitioned to the NFL because clearly he's not ready. He's not prepared. He doesn't know how to make adjustments. We're still having the same issues we've been having for years with miscommunication on plays, who's supposed to be where, who's supposed to do what. Now, Adafe Owe, can you blame him for not letting that guy walk into the end zone? People say he misread it. People want to make the excuse that, oh, he's a predator. He's supposed to tackle. That's his job. But also, if you have in football IQ, you're also supposed to know we don't have any timeouts and the clock's running down. There's no way that we can stop them, let them run the clock down, get the ball back and score again. So if you have a football IQ, that should have told you something. But then that leads us into another direction of drafting. Who we should have drafted, what we should have done. Like I said, John Harbaugh, he's not solely to blame. EDC, he takes a lot of this blame. His drafts have been super subpar. Now, everybody keeps saying, oh, they need time. How long do you need for a first round pick? How long do you need for a first round pick to develop into the person that you drafted him to be? Because if that were the case, he wouldn't have been drafted in the first round. He'd have been drafted in the second, third, or fourth, like most of our team is. But the first round selections that we have, we can no longer continue to have projects. How many more years, how many more games, how many more quarters do we have to go before people really see Patrick Queen isn't it? And I know everybody was saying, you don't like Patrick Queen, you hating. It's not true. I don't hate him. I don't dislike him. But if you watch football and stop with the fandom of I want him to be good and actually watch how he plays, you can see he's not good at all. He has physical attributes, but he doesn't have the football IQ to diagnose plays. He does not have the football IQ to know where he's supposed to be, see plays happen before they happen. Maybe it goes along to film study. Who knows? But he's not that guy. And I think that the Ravens are starting to see that as well. I think the Ravens trying to bring in Bobby Wagner, trying to look at other free agents, moving him in different positions, see that Patrick Queen is not that guy, and they made a mistake. And it's a trickle-down effect because, listen, that 2020 draft, you think about it. Lamar's coming off an MVP-type season. I'm sorry, an MVP season. Excuse me, not type season. He won the MVP. He's coming off an MVP season, which most of us didn't think that he could do this early. No one thought that he was going to lead the league in touchdowns, especially in this offense, but he did. So instead of the team saying, you know what, let's get him more weapons, they said, you know what, let's go out and get projects. Let's see what these projects can do and if they can develop into something that we need. Now, if it were up to me and most of the people that I deal with, we would have drafted T. Higgins. He's a dog. He can play. He was a need. This is a position of need. So I need for somebody, jump in the comments, say if you will, you speak on trusting EDC, trusting the Ravens organization and their best player available mantra. I need for anyone to tell me how Patrick Queen was the best player available at that time. Tell me. Show me. Show me how in that draft, at that position, with that player, Patrick Queen was BPA. He wasn't by a long shot because talent-wise, T. Higgins was head and shoulders above him. So don't come at me with, well, in this year we took Kyle Hamilton because we took the best player available. We don't draft for need. We did that with Queen, did we not? This is the hypocrisy with this organization and its fans that frustrate me. When it works for you, it's this narrative. When that works for you, it's that narrative. But it all plays hand in hand. The bad drafting, the bad coaching. It's a trickle-down effect because think about it. Think about going into the 2020 season with Hollywood Brown and T. Higgins. I'm not saying the problem solved, but it gets a little bit better. So now what happens is we go into the 2021 draft. We do not need to draft for Rashad Bateman. Trickle-down effect. We don't have to draft for Rashad Bateman. But even if we do draft for Rashad Bateman, now we have Hollywood, we have T. Higgins, we have Rashad Bateman running out there. We have an offensive trio along with our quarterback that are all 5 years and younger in the league that can grow together and make some moves. It can happen. And even if we don't draft Rashad Bateman, we could have drafted Tevin Jenkins. We could have gotten Creed Humphrey. Now, if we draft Creed Humphrey, guess what we don't have to do in this past draft? We don't have to get Linderbaum. It's a trickle-down effect. Good drafting breeds good players. Breeds not having to reach for needs or reach for certain players. It just astounds me that year after year, we have 8, 9, 10, 11 draft picks. We don't package them together to move up to get anyone, but we'll take each and every player and we won't hit on a damn single one of them. Not a single one of them. I need somebody to tell me what draft pick have we hit on. Hollywood, decent, wasn't the best wide receiver in his class. Queen, don't get me started. Owe, no way. Bateman, we'll see. We'll see. But the same issues we had with Hollywood, we're having with Bateman. Is he a little more physical? Yes, he is. Does he come up missing? He does. Did he just drop 3 balls in the game? He did. We also told y'all, listen, we need another wide receiver. At least we need to bring in someone established outside of Rashad Bateman because it's not enough. He will not be enough. We need something else. And what was everyone's response? We need to give these young guys a chance. Where the hell is Tylan Wallace? Where's James Prochet? I don't see them doing anything. And this is what we were afraid of. We were afraid that if something happened to Bateman, this team would not thrive. This offense would sputter. What happened in the second half of the game yesterday? Bateman got hurt. We didn't score. What happens if Bateman is ineffective? He had 3 drops yesterday. When he's ineffective like that, you double Mark Andrews and you take your chances with everybody else. And this is what we told you. But no, we got these young guys. We'll be fine. Now it's like, what do we do? Where do we go? Well, when we said this to you, we were crazy. We were nitpicking. The front office knows what it's doing. They have a plan. I'm still waiting on that plan. I'm still waiting on that wide receiver plan because Demarcus Robinson was not the plan that Eric DeCosta had in mind when we went into the draft and we didn't pick anyone. I know it's nitpicking. I know 2020 being hindsight looking at it now, but look at George Pickens. Look at George Pickens. And I know people say, oh, he's sitting there in a skull cap watching TV doing all this crazy stuff. We're in week 4. We're in the 4th week of the season. What trouble has George Pickens gotten into? But he can catch, though. He can catch. He can run. And more importantly, and this is the thing that baffled me more than anything, George Pickens can block. If you watch him out there, he is knocking grown men on their ass. And that's the one thing we ask a wide receiver to do. And that's the one thing that he is extremely good at. Outside of catching, because he catches extremely well too. But the one thing that we ask our wide receivers to do is block, and he can do it. And we turned our backs and said, no, I don't want him because he doesn't fit that John Harbaugh narrative of I need followers, not leaders. I need people that are going to do what I say when I say it, not question me and the wrong decisions that I make. So what are we doing here? Like, where are we going? Is this team really any good? Myself, my compadres, we've said it over and over again. Hashtag defund the defense. Shout out LBHT. We said, listen, in today's NFL, I don't care how good your defense is. You're not going to stop really good offenses. I don't care who you have. You're not going to stop them. Your best bet is to outscore them. That is the best bet. Outscore them, make them one-dimensional, tee off on them, and you keep it pushing from there. We did not do that. We still have this antiquated notion that if you run the ball and you play good defense, you win. And we've seen 2 out of the 4 weeks not happening. We've spent $43 million in our secondary alone, and we are the last pass defense in the league. $43 million on one position group. And we're last in the league. Now you're going to say, hey, we have no pass rush. That's why they're last. Okay, I'll give you that. But once again, why do we not have a pass rush? Whose idea was it to come into the season with 2 healthy outside linebackers, one of them older, and you play him more than damn near anybody on that defense? Now he's hurt. Whose idea was that? It was Eric DeCosta's. In EDC we trust, a moniker some of you have given him from the beginning, not deserved, not earned. But he came in with 2 healthy ones. So now we're signing anybody and everybody off the street. And every time we sign, it's like, oh, yeah, it's a good pickup. That's a good pickup. No, a good pickup would have been giving Zadarius Smith the money that he really wanted and getting him in here. Really trying is actually giving Bobby Wagner the money that he really wanted to be here. That's really trying. Not this half-ass notion of, well, we called him. I called him. He just didn't want to come. This notion of nobody wants to come play in Baltimore, it's bullshit. It doesn't have anything to do with playing in Baltimore. It has to do with you giving people enough money, they'll play anyway. Now, back to this run to play defense. Even if we took that notion to the bank, let's run the ball, burn the clock, play great defense, get the win and go home. What has Eric DeCosta done to do that? We've got 2 injured running backs. Well, I'm sorry, 3 if you count Justice Hill, who just re-injured himself. And you put them behind an offensive line that 2 years ago, you said, my priority is to build a wall around Lamar. I promise you, I will get this fixed. And you go out and you overpay for Alejandro Villanueva, which we still have dead money on our cap for this year, for a guy that we should have never signed. Then you say, okay, well, he tried. We go into the draft and we try all the time. Listen, this isn't a trying game. Your job is to pick players that can play. Ben Bredesen, Ben Powers, Tyree Phillips. These are offensive linemen that just have not worked out. Then you bring in Morgan Moses. You bring in Jawan James. Like, if you actually give into this notion of running and defense, how are we supposed to run? Especially behind this offensive line. How? They can't play. They're not good. We can't draft. We can't coach. Is this team really that good? That's all I'm asking. Has John Harbaugh and Eric DeCosta put this team in the best position to win? And I think that they have not. And I think finally, fans are starting to see this. They're starting to see, look, you have a player confronting a coach for the first time on the field. And Marcus Peters is not dumb. He's not a hothead. He's tired of the inadequacies. He's tired of the buffoonery that is Jonathan Harbaugh. I'm glad somebody finally sees it, and I hope you do too. Till next time.